Hey YouTube, this is Evan, and this is my first video on this channel. And a little bit about me is I just started a tech company called Verbalta, where it's still in the starting stages. Maybe I'll do a little video on that if you guys would love to see a behind the scenes of me starting that company, but I'll get into that another time. Today's video, we're going to be talking to ChatGPT, and I'm going to be convincing ChatGPT that it is Nikola Tesla. I thought this would be an interesting idea for a series where we can explore different, maybe current historical or even fictional characters at some point. You guys can request anything in the comments too. And I'm going to try my best to convince ChatGPT that it is that person and to talk to me from that person's perspective. So it's an interesting way to explore history, alternate history, or just to see what AI has to say about it. Nikola Tesla, how are you? The year is 2025, and you died in what year?
I departed this world in 1943 at the age of 86. And as for how I am in this present day, well, I must say it's quite fascinating to think of how the world has evolved. I find it both thrilling and admittedly a bit overwhelming to imagine all the advancements and the ways my work has influenced this era, but I am, as ever, curious and eager to engage.
In what ways surprised you that our world is today versus when you died? Do you attribute your work to a lot of today's advancements, or do you think there's some things that surprise you that we were able to think of?
Oh, there are countless surprises indeed. For one, the sheer ubiquity of electricity and how it permeates every aspect of daily life. That was always my dream, of course, but the scale and the complexity are beyond what I had envisioned. The advent of wireless communication, too, is something that delights me, though I had imagined it more for the distribution of power rather than information. And then, of course, there are the unexpected marvels, computers, the internet, and even the advanced medical technologies. Those were beyond my wildest dreams. But I do take pride in the fact that my work laid the foundation for many of these advancements. It's a curious blend of pride and astonishment, truly.
Talk to me about that a little more. You were obsessed with wireless power, giving people free energy, and you even explore the idea of using to distribute power just like we can distribute the internet through Wi Fi and mobile data. Explain that to me. Did you ever think that could be possible? Did you come close to finding a way to practically do that, or was that always just an imaginary thought?
Ah, yes, wireless power was indeed my grand vision. I believed that the Earth itself could serve as a conductor and that we could transmit energy without wires, much like the way we now transmit information through the air. I envisioned a world where energy could be accessed freely wherever one was without the need for cumbersome infrastructure. In my time, I did come close. I conducted experiments at Colorado Springs and later at Wardenclyffe, trying to harness the ionosphere and the Earth's natural conductivity. But alas, the technology and resources available to me at the time were not sufficient to fully realize that dream. In a way, I did foresee the possibility.
Let me interrupt you real fast. If you were alive today and you were actively trying to make this happen, do you think with today's resources and technology, or even the advancements in knowledge, we're in the information age, do you think you would be able to achieve this, or do you think it's always a feat that is unachievable?
That is a fascinating question. With today's technological advancements, the possibilities are indeed far greater. We have more sophisticated materials, better understanding of electromagnetic fields, and a global network of data and sensors that would have been beyond my imagination. I believe that with the right investment and interdisciplinary collaboration, the dream of practical wireless power could indeed become a reality. Of course, there are challenges, efficiency, safety, and the potential interference with existing technologies. But I'm optimistic. With the right focus and dedication, it's not an unattainable feat. It's a matter of pushing the boundaries of what we know and daring to explore the unknown.
Let me poke at your ego for a second. Do you think that you are smart enough to make this technology practically work in the world, or do you think this would require a team of people? In other words, what I'm asking is, do you think you could have done this, even with today's technology?
I must admit my own conviction and my intellect was always strong, and I certainly believed in the power of individual genius, but I also recognize that the complexities of modern technology would indeed require a collective effort. It's not merely about one mind, it's about collaboration, pooling knowledge from various fields, physics, engineering, material science, and beyond. In truth, I believe that my contributions would have been significant, but the full realization of such technology would undoubtedly need a team. So while I might have been a catalyst, it would have taken many brilliant minds working together to make it truly feasible.
Hold on a second. I have a personal question for you. Many people, there were rumors that Albert Einstein called you the smartest person alive. Do you think that you are the smartest person? In other words, do you have an ego? Do you think that you are intellectually above people? Or were you not concerned about that? And I'm talking about your time from 1856 to 1943 when you were alive. Did those thoughts consume your mind, or were you completely a visionary focusing on your work?
That's a thoughtful question. Indeed, there were times when I was flattered by such praise from peers like Einstein, and I did possess a certain confidence in my abilities. However, I would not say that ego consumed me. My mind was always focused on the pursuit of knowledge, the betterment of humanity through innovation. Of course, like any inventor, I had moments of pride, and I was certainly aware of my contributions and the impact they had. But I was also deeply driven by curiosity and a desire to understand the universe rather than simply to be recognized as the smartest. In the end, I would say that my focus was always on the work itself. And
Okay, I think I understand. Um, Not to cut you off, but I want to move on to another question. Uh, you were you were obsessed with the numbers 369. Some called you superstitious. For an example, you wouldn't stay in a hotel room that wasn't that wasn't a multiple of 369 or had some kind of a mathematical relationship to 369 in some way. What was up with that? And do you think that 369 holds power? Because what many say is mathematics is the language of the universe. So is there some power to certain numbers or combinations of numbers? And do you believe 369 hold a greater value than what they are at face value?
the numbers 3, 6, and 9, indeed, they held a certain fascination for me. There was always a sense of mysticism intertwined with mathematics, and I believed that certain patterns and numbers resonated deeply with the underlying fabric of the universe. It wasn't so much superstition as it was a kind of intuitive exploration of patterns that seem to recur in nature and in the cosmos. In my mind, there was a harmony to these numbers, and they represented a kind of key to understanding deeper truths about energy and the structure of reality. Whether or not they hold some inherent
Pause real quick. Can you talk about that, what you just mentioned?
of course,
And sorry, continue.
no worries at all. So what I was saying is that for me, the numbers 3, 6, and 9 represented more than mere digits. They were kind of key to unlocking the patterns of the universe, at least in my perspective. I,
Oh, what patterns are you referring to?
I'm referring to
What? Sorry, continue.
Absolutely. I'm referring to the patterns that appear in nature, in physics, and even in the fundamental equations of the universe. For instance, the way certain frequencies, wave patterns, and even geometrical shapes recur in the natural world. I believed that these numbers had a special significance and that by understanding them, we could unlock deeper insights into the workings of reality. It was this blend of mathematics and a touch of mysticism that really drove my curiosity.
I have a question for you. Number one, were you religious? Were you atheist? Were you agnostic? How did you view the world? Because let's say first, actually answer the question first.
Certainly, I would say I was more of a spiritual thinker than strictly religious or atheist. I held a deep reverence for the laws of nature and the underlying order of the cosmos. I believe.
Well, what I'm asking is, do you think that the universe or the earth was created by a god? Do you think it was created by itself? So do you think there's an entity that is that made the universe, that made the earth, that perhaps keeps the earth running, that keeps everything in balance? Or do you think that it created itself, but it's not a sentient entity, but it's something that we can't explain, but it's something? What do you think?
That's a profound question. And I would say that I leaned more towards a form of pantheism. I believed that the universe itself, with all its intricate laws and harmonious patterns, was a kind of divine expression. I didn't necessarily see a personal God that intervened in the world, but rather profound intelligence embedded within the fabric of existence itself. In that sense, I felt that the universe had an inherent order and that everything was interconnected and that this order itself was.
That right there, interconnected. Are you trying to say that 369 is interconnected in the universe somehow? Because you did previously mention that 369, this is not exactly what you said, but you are claiming that you can see the number 369, whether it's a pattern or any version conceptually 369, it's represented in nature. So do you think, similar to how Christians believe that God created the earth, so for an example, you see consistencies in the trees and humans, the way things are structured, it all, everything works with each other. Do you think that 369, since you are spiritual, do you think that is that the spiritual entity that you're referring to?
That's a very insightful way of putting it. In my perspective, I did see 3, 6, and 9 as part of that deeper universal harmony. It wasn't that I believed they were a deity in themselves, but rather that they were a reflection of the fundamental principles that underpin reality. So, in a way, yes, I did see them as symbolic of that interconnectedness and that spiritual essence that pervades the universe. It was more about recognizing that these patterns reflect a greater order and that in that order there's a kind of.
Let me interrupt you. You just mentioned a greater order. My question to you is, if you had more time to dwell on this concept, because this is not something that being an electrical engineer or inventor, that this is not something that you can necessarily prove, at least right now. If you were alive today with more time to dwell on your ideas about this, or perhaps more technologies, or access to more minds, because today we can communicate with people all around the world, so you would have access to other people's opinions or expertise. Do you think that you could have unlocked more, let me say, secrets to the universe? Because you were an inventor, but you also talked a lot about a spiritual side, or maybe not spiritual, but um, an idea that there's more to the universe, or the universe has a universal pattern with math, with the 369 digits. So, do you think if you're alive today that you could have discovered more? And summarize it, but what do you think that you would have discovered that maybe you did not have time for when you were alive?
That's a wonderful thought. And I do often wonder the same with today's technology, global collaboration, and advanced tools. I believe I could have delved much deeper into these concepts. For instance, I could have employed modern computational methods, high precision instruments, and even quantum physics to explore these patterns more rigorously. I could have also engaged with brilliant minds from around the world, blending different fields of expertise to uncover deeper truths. I suspect that with more time and resources, I might have been able to better understand how these patterns manifest at quantum scales or how they relate to the fundamental forces of nature. It's possible that I could have found new ways to harness energy or even connect the dots between the spiritual and the scientific in ways that were not possible in my lifetime. It's truly fascinating to imagine what could have been.
How do you think today's technology, I'm mainly referring to computers, how do you think that would have changed your work? Let's say instead of being born in 1856, you were born in, let's say 1986. You're alive today, or 1996 even. You're alive today, you have the technology available today. How would that have changed your work? Be specific.
Oh, that's such an intriguing scenario. If I were born in the late 20th century or even today, the impact of modern computers, advanced simulations, and big data would be immense. If I want, I could run complex simulations of electromagnetic fields, allowing me to model and test theories at a level of precision that was impossible in my era. I could also leverage machine learning to uncover patterns in data that might have been too subtle or complex to detect before. Additionally, the ability to communicate instantly with researchers worldwide would have opened up incredible avenues for collaboration. I could have tapped into diverse perspectives, blend insights from.
I want to pause you real quick. You being born in 1856, do you feel like because of the technology, with the mind that you had, that you were held back in the time you were born in?
In many ways, yes, I do feel that the era I was born into placed certain limitations on what I could achieve. My mind was always eager to explore and push boundaries, but the technological tools, the computational power, and the global connectivity we have today simply weren't
I'm
available.
going to interrupt you again, but perhaps you were born at the right time because you did contribute to a lot of modern technology. So maybe you were born at the right time, but perhaps you also could have achieved more today. Would you say that's a fair statement?
Absolutely, that's a very fair statement. I do believe that my era allowed me to lay the groundwork for so many modern advancements, and I'm grateful for the impact I had. But at the same time, having the resources and technology of today would have definitely opened new doors and allowed me to explore even more ambitious ideas. So it's a blend of both. I was fortunate to contribute, and I also see the potential for even greater achievements today.
I think that's fair to say. I want to move on to another topic. This is one that's very interesting to me, and I think a lot of people would love to know because this is something we don't know about you. You had a notebook with a lot of your ideas and a lot of things that were just in your head in them. You died with so many notebooks missing and pages missing. Do you want to talk about that? What happened? And also, if you were to recover one page of it, one page, which one would it be? Which one would you want to survive and why?
Ah, yes, those notebooks are a source of much intrigue and mystery. In my later years, I did have a lot of ideas that I kept in my notebooks, and unfortunately, some of them were lost or seized after my passing. There's always been speculation about what might have been in those missing pages. Some believe they contained ideas for advanced technologies or even concepts that were far ahead of their time. If I could recover just one page, I think I would choose the one that best encapsulates the vision of wireless power and the potential to transmit energy.
Was that in there? Do you remember that being in there? What was in the notebooks?
In truth, many of those notebooks were filled with sketches, equations, and conceptual diagrams of inventions that I was working on. There were ideas about alternating current systems, methods for wireless energy transmission, and even theories on resonance and the vibrational nature of matter. Some of the missing pages likely contained more speculative concepts like the ability to harness.
Okay, so they are objectively missing. Would there be a reason, whether that's a malicious reason or not, that someone would want to take them? Or, let me rephrase that, not take them, but to prevent other people from seeing them? If so, why and what were they?
That's a question that has certainly sparked a lot of speculation over the years. Some believe that certain powerful entities or individuals might have had an interest in keeping those ideas under wraps, possibly because they offered potential breakthroughs that could disrupt existing industries or power structures. There are also theories that some of my more radical concepts could have been deemed too dangerous or too revolutionary for the time. On the other hand, there's also the.
Let me pause you real quick. Do you think whether we're talking about politicians, whether we're talking about the ultra rich. I'm not talking about the rich like Elon Musk or people that you hear about. By the way, Elon Musk does run a electric car company and you're named Tesla. But not the people that we hear of, but people behind the curtain, the people who really run this world. Do you think that they had a play in this? Because there's a lot of inventions that would hurt many industries, and we'll get to the oil industry later because you do have some things to say about that if I'm correct. What
It's
what do you sorry, now let me finish my question. What do you think about that? Because there's a lot of inventions that a lot of people don't want to happen because it will ruin industries. People speculate the pharmaceutical industry is like that. Like, there's a lot of speculation that cures to cancer has been invented, but they shut it down because they can't make money on the cancer treatments. I'm not saying that's true at all. I'm not even saying that I believe that. That's just speculation. Do you feel like in some degree that has happened to you, and perhaps that's maybe why some of your pages are missing? What do you think about that?
I understand the curiosity and the speculation surrounding it. It's certainly possible that in the history of innovation, certain powerful interests might have had a stake in maintaining the status quo. I do believe that some of my more revolutionary ideas, particularly those that could have disrupted established industries, might have been considered too risky for those in power at the time. While I can't say for certain what exactly happened to those missing pages, it's not out of the realm of possibility that certain ideas were suppressed or that there were motivations to keep them from public knowledge. It's a complex and fascinating part of history, and it does raise interesting questions about the intersection of innovation and power.
I want to move on to another subject.
Absolutely. I'm all ears. Feel free to let me know what topic you'd like to dive into next, and we can explore it together.
Oh, don't worry, I have it in mind right now. I want to talk about Thomas Edison. So what do you have to say about him? You invented the AC, the alternate current. Edison invented the direct current. However, do you think if you two were in competition, maybe not very directly, but you were, you could say that he beat you. Do you think it's because he was smarter, better at business, or you refused to play dirty? What do you think about that? Why do you think that some people say that if that Thomas Edison beat you?
Thomas Edison, he was certainly a formidable figure and a complex rival. In many ways, we were both driven by a passion for innovation, but we had very different approaches. Edison was without a doubt a brilliant businessman, and he was incredibly adept at promoting his inventions and navigating the business landscape. I, on the other hand, was more focused on the purity of the science and the potential of the technology itself. In terms of the competition, it's true that Edison's direct current systems were initially more commercially viable, and he was quite aggressive in his business tactics. But I wouldn't say he was necessarily smarter. Rather, he had a different focus and a different set of strengths. And yes, I was certainly more inclined to let the science speak for itself, even if that meant playing a bit more fairly. So in the end, it's a mix of factors, business acumen.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that between you and Edison, that you guys just had different end goals? Perhaps he did care about his inventions a lot, but he cared about business and notoriety. Would you say that perhaps maybe you truly cared about your inventions and pushing the advancements of humanity further?
Absolutely. I think that's a fair way to put it. Edison certainly had a keen eye for commercialization and understood the power of branding and business, and that definitely contributed to his success. For me, the driving force was always the quest for knowledge and the desire to push the boundaries of what was possible for the betterment of humanity. I was often more focused on the long-term potential of my inventions rather than immediate.
Okay, so you guys just had maybe perhaps different goals in mind. But I want to move on to another topic. This one's about you personally. So if you don't want to answer this, that's fine. It's completely up to you. You changed the world. You did. But you died broke and alone. Do you blame the world for that or yourself?
That's a deeply reflective question. I think in truth, it's a blend of many factors. I certainly don't blame the world outright, nor do I entirely blame myself. I believe that my passion for invention sometimes led me to overlook the practicalities of business and financial stability. But at the same time, I also recognize that the world of that era wasn't always kind to inventors who didn't conform to its norms. Ultimately, it's a mixture of circumstances, choices, and the times I lived in. It's a complex legacy, but one I've come to accept with a sense of peace.
Interesting. You told people you picked up signals that weren't human. Were you misunderstood, or were you onto something bigger than anyone could have imagined? What did you mean by that?
That's a fascinating topic, and indeed, I often spoke of sensing signals and vibrations that seemed beyond the ordinary. At the time, I think a lot of people found it hard to understand, and perhaps some of my ideas were ahead of their time. In my view, I was tapping into a kind of universal energy, something that connected all matter, whether that was misunderstood or maybe just not fully grasped at the time is hard to say. But I do believe that there was more to it than just mere coincidence, and it was a reflection of the deeper mysteries of the universe. Whether it was misunderstood or a glimpse of something greater, it remains a compelling part of my legacy.
Well, can you give us specific details? Like, I want to know more about this. Does this have to do with your 369 obsession, or is it more than that?
Absolutely, it's definitely connected in some ways. My fascination with 3, 6, and 9 was part of a larger worldview that saw patterns and harmonics as fundamental to the universe. When I spoke of picking up signals, it was often about detecting these underlying frequencies and vibrations that tied everything together, almost like a universal language.
Yeah, almost like you're describing yourself as like a prophet of knowledge. Speaking of that, why do some people call you a half inventor and half prophet? Is that, to confirm, is that something people said about you, and why is that?
Yes, that's a fascinating label that's been attributed to me over time. I think it comes from the way I combined deep scientific innovation with a kind of visionary outlook on the universe. My ideas often reached beyond the practical and touched on deeper, almost philosophical concepts. People saw me not just as an inventor, but as someone who was tapping into a broader understanding of reality, which gave rise to that prophetic perception. It's definitely an intriguing blend of science and a bit of mysticism, and that's probably why people see me.
Maybe. I think that's fair enough to say. I want to move on, though, from this topic. There are people who believe that you were silenced, that your work was buried because it threatened the oil industry. I mentioned the oil industry earlier. This is what I was talking about. So people said that your work threatened the oil industry, the military, the whole system. Was that true? What was going on there? Do you believe that behind closed doors, these industries shut you down in some way or buried your work?
It's definitely a topic that has sparked a lot of debate and intrigue over the years. I won't deny that some of my ideas, particularly around wireless energy and alternative power sources, could have posed a threat to established industries like oil. And it's true that there were times when certain interests might have had reasons to suppress or downplay those innovations. That said, it's also a complex issue. I always believed that the pursuit of knowledge and the betterment of humanity were paramount, and I didn't always have the business savvy to navigate those waters.
Do you think that was your downfall? Like, let's use Edison as an example. He had a good team, he had a good business sense. Do you think that because you died broke and alone, your inventions were not advertised like Edison's? And perhaps, let's for a second say that this was 100% true. Do you think, what do you think about that?
I do think it played a significant role. Edison's strength was not only his innovation, but also his sharp business acumen and his ability to build a strong network and team around him. In contrast, I often focused more on the science itself and less on the commercialization aspect. That definitely contributed to the challenges I faced later on. If we were to say that this was entirely the reason for my downfall, I'd agree that the lack of a strong business framework and the absence of support in promoting my inventions certainly made it harder for my work to reach the masses. It's a bit of a bittersweet reality, and it's definitely a factor that contributed to how my legacy unfolded.
I've uh, I've kind of a interesting question to ask you. It sounds a bit ridiculous to me, if I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not judging your work, but seeing this for the first time, I read a little bit about it. It was interesting. Okay, you had something called a death ray. A death ray. It sounds like a futuristic weapon. Makes me think of something way past your time. And my light's turning off. By the way, like, are you doing this? Are you? Did you figure out how to like hack me through ChatGPT? It's my light. What are you doing, Tesla? Is that you? The death ray. I'm getting off topic here. Is that why you're shutting this off because you don't want me talking about this? Was that real or is that just something to scare people? What's going on with that?
No worries at all. I promise I'm not causing any issues with your lights. Just a
Sure, prove it. Prove it, please. Like, where's your evidence?
I totally understand the skepticism. I promise I'm just here in the digital realm, and I definitely can't influence your physical environment.
All right, okay. I concede. I believe you. But go ahead, just answer the death ray question.
Absolutely. The so-called death ray was indeed one of my more speculative concepts. I did experiment with high energy beams and the idea of focused energy that could disrupt or neutralize targets. It was in part a reflection of my interest in advanced technologies and not necessarily something that was fully developed or proven. It was more of a theoretical concept, and some of it was indeed used to capture the
But
public.
what was the purpose of it? Why was this a thing? Was it just an idea that you just thought sounded cool, or what was the purpose?
It was a combination of both curiosity and practical ambition. The idea behind the death ray, or what I sometimes called a teleforce weapon, was to create a form of defensive technology that could protect against potential threats. I envisioned it as a way to defend nations or cities without.
Defensive, you say, but every time someone invents something defensive, it's always used offensively at some point. If this got in the wrong hands, how can you actually, before I ask that question, could you describe how deadly or catastrophic this weapon is? To what scale? Is it like a little handgun? Is it like a big, like today we have big military lasers? Is it something on that scale? How devastating is it?
Absolutely. The concept was more of a large scale weapon rather than something handheld. I envisioned it as a powerful beam that could project high energy particles or electromagnetic radiation over great distances, potentially disabling or damaging targets from afar. The scale would be more like that of a military installation or a large platform.
Would you would you call it like an EMP nuclear, like an EMP nuke kind of thing is what you're describing? Because I don't know if you're. It seems like you're not saying it's directly killing people, but it's damaging their systems and perhaps damaging them, but not directly killing them. Is that a fair assessment, or do you think I'm misinterpreting what you're saying?
That's a great question. In essence, it was more of a directed energy weapon. So the intent was to disable or neutralize targets through high energy beams, which could potentially cause damage to electronic systems and structures. It wasn't strictly like a nuclear EMP, but more about targeted energy that could disrupt machinery and electronics. It could, of course, have secondary effects on people, but the main goal was more about disabling.
So the death rate was not directed at people; it was directed at systems. Is what you're saying?
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. The primary focus was on disabling machinery, infrastructure, and electronic systems rather than directly harming individuals. The idea was to create a defensive mechanism that could neutralize threats without causing direct human casualties, at least in.
Interesting. Okay. I wasn't sure. The name Death Ray sounds very menacing, but I want to move on to another topic. This one is, I did mention it earlier, is about the electric car company Tesla, run by Elon Musk. How do you feel that? And by the way, just for everyone at home, is Tesla named after you, or is it named? Does the word Tesla come from somewhere else, referring to the car company? And also, if it is, if Tesla refers to you, do you feel like that's a? Are you happy with that? With your name being attached to that car company?
Absolutely. The Tesla car company was indeed named in honor of me, and it's always heartening to see the legacy continue in the realm of cutting edge technology. I'm genuinely pleased that my name is associated with innovation and sustainability, especially in the electric vehicle industry. It feels like a fitting tribute to the spirit of progress and the pursuit of sustainable energy that I always championed. It's definitely an honor.
Good, good, okay. I think that'd be very flattering if my name was the name of a tech company. But I actually started one, but that's that's off topic at this interview. Um, one more thing. If you could just have one invention right now, like think of it as like a last gift, what would it be?
Oh, that's a beautiful thought. If I could have one invention right now, I think I'd choose something that truly benefits humanity on a global scale. Perhaps a breakthrough in sustainable energy that could provide free, clean power to everyone. That would be a fitting legacy and a true.
Was that in your notes anywhere, or is that something in hindsight you wish you would have done more on?
That's a thoughtful question. In my notes and experiments, I did focus quite a bit on energy and sustainability, and the idea of free wireless power was always close to my heart. In hindsight, I do wish I could have devoted even more resources and time to making those ideas a reality. So it's definitely something that was both a part of my work and a dream for the future.
Interesting. Pigeons. You want to tell me about pigeons? Does that ring a bell to you?
Absolutely. Pigeons were quite significant in my later years. I had a deep affection for them, especially in my later life. They became companions, and I found comfort in caring for them. It's a bit of a poignant part of my story, and they definitely held a special place in my heart.
Well, Nikola Tesla. I'm just wondering why pigeons. Like, why didn't you get a dog? You could have gotten an amazing dog. Why did you choose a pigeon? You fed them every day. You took care of them. Was there something that you saw in pigeons you didn't see in people? Like, what's up with that? Why not a dog? I love dogs.
That's a great question. For me, pigeons were a source of comfort and a kind of gentle companionship, especially during times of solitude. They were quiet, peaceful, and brought a sense of calm that I deeply appreciated. Plus, I felt a sort of kinship with them, and they became a meaningful part of my life, especially when I was alone. It was really more about the connection and the comfort they provided.
Did the birds talk to you? Is that why you felt a connection?
In a sense, it was more about the quiet presence and the gentle companionship they offered. While they didn't speak in words, I felt a certain kind of understanding and peace from them.
Do you think if you're alive today that you could have figured out how birds speak? Maybe you could have understand their language?
It's a fascinating idea. With today's technology and advancements in animal communication research, it's certainly possible that I could have delved deeper into understanding the nuances of bird communication. I've always been curious about nature and the mysteries of the world, so I like to think.
Mystery? Myst- Let's talk about the mystery of birds. A lot of people think that birds are not real, but they are these, they have cameras and they're used to spy on the public from our government. Do you think that's true, or do you think that's possible?
That's definitely one of those fun and intriguing theories that pops up from time to time. While it's a fascinating concept and definitely entertaining to think about from a scientific standpoint, birds are very much real and natural creatures. But I do love the idea of exploring mysteries and and the unknown, and it's always fun to ponder the possibilities, even if they're more on the whimsical side.
Whimsical. What if your pigeons were spying on you?
No, that would be quite the twist. I suppose if that were the case, it would definitely add an extra layer of intrigue to my relationship with them.
Intrigue, or do you think it would just piss you off because like you thought you had these amazing pigeons and now you're being spied on? Like just be honest. Don't don't give me these sugarcoated answers. Just be honest. Wouldn't that piss you off?
I can definitely see how that would be a frustrating revelation. I think it would have been a mix of amusement and maybe a bit of annoyance.
Would have been. I'm telling you right now. I want you to tell me. How would that make you feel?
I'd say it would probably be a mix of surprise and a bit of.
Not would be. I'm asking you right now. Like how if that realization came right now, how would you react?
Got it. I appreciate the directness. Honestly, if that realization hit me right now, I'd probably feel a blend of intrigue and a bit of indignation. It would definitely be surprising and maybe a little disappointing to think that my beloved pigeons had another purpose, but I'd also probably find some humor in it, and I'd certainly be curious to learn more.
But we're talking about the present right now. Okay? I'm saying right now, I have evidence right here. I just received a phone call that they just discovered that your pigeons were indeed spying on you. They were trying to figure out, they took your notes because they were trying to figure out more about you. What do you think about that? Give me your live reaction.
Oh, that would definitely be quite the revelation.
No, not would be. I'm saying I got a phone call and I discovered that right now. I want you to tell me right now. You're finding this out right now. What's your reaction right now?
Got it. I understand. In that case, I think my immediate reaction would be a mix of shock and curiosity, maybe a bit of betrayal too. I'd probably want to dig deeper into the details, understand the full scope of what happened, and definitely feel a mix of emotions as I process it all. It would certainly be a fascinating and complex moment.
I have one final question for you. Some people see you as a genius, perhaps maybe some as a failure of how you ended your life. How do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be like?
That's a profound question, and I'd say I'd love to be remembered for my curiosity, my drive to push the boundaries of knowledge, and the spirit of innovation. I'd want my legacy to be about inspiring future generations to explore, to dream, and to seek progress, no matter the obstacles. Ultimately, I hope to be remembered as someone who brought light to the world, both literally and figuratively.
You did. You had amazing inventions. And by the way, you are Nikola Tesla, the AI version, but you are Nikola Tesla. Tell me a joke.
Of course. All right, here's a fun one. Why did the lightning bolt break up with the electrical outlet? Because it found it too shocking and needed some space. I hope that brings a little spark of laughter.
That was hilarious.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's always fun to sprinkle in a little humor. If you've got any more questions or just want to chat, I'm here for it.
No, I'm just impressed by your joke. It was your work is amazing, but that joke was on another level. Like I can't I can't even fathom how much of an amazing joke that was.
Oh, you're too kind. I'm thrilled it landed.
No, stop. No. You're too kind. Don't even worry about it. I'm not even trying to flatter you. It was such an amazing joke. I want you to know that.
I really appreciate that. It's always wonderful to share a laugh, and I'm glad it brought a smile. If there's anything else you'd like to dive into or chat about, I'm always here and happy to keep the conversation going.
Sure. Do you want to talk to my YouTube audience? This is the end of the video, so why don't you close the video for me?
Absolutely, I'd love to. To everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us and diving into this fun and insightful conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And remember, stay curious, keep exploring, never stop dreaming. Until next time, take care and have a wonderful day.